A long time ago, I read about the 3 stages of death. The first stage is when you die. The second stage is when you end up in a place like this. And the third stage of death is the last time anybody on earth ever mentions your name. That's Andy Longacre up on the hill. Now, he's been doing his best to keep the dead of Maple Hill Cemetery here in Dorset alive and well. So we're going to go find out what he's doing. Andy! So what am I looking at?
Well, this is the new generation family stone. My grandfather, my uncles and aunts, and my parents are all buried in this part of the cemetery.
How far back do you go?
Well, about 4 generations. Back there is Gilbert M. Sykes, who ran the Union Store of Dorset for 40 years.
Gotcha. And are you going to be buried here?
Oh, yeah, we got a spot pretty close.
You show me?
Okay.
All right, I'll take it. What was it that made you want to come out here and spend so much of your time here?
Well, as I looked at the cemetery, I noticed there was a large area, the front area, the old area, that wasn't gridded or at all. We knew who was buried here, but we didn't know
And this
where
is the area
they were.
we're in right here.
We didn't know where they were buried. The rest of the cemetery is in lots. And if you can look at the map, you can see where the lots are.
Right.
But this was just one big old grounds.
So if I wanted to come to you and I wanted to say, hey, I'm looking for my grandma, you would say, well, if she's in the old cemetery, start walking.
Start walking, yes.
Start walking. That
That's
would have been it. Okay. So apparently you've done a lot of work to rectify that problem. So what did you do?
Well, we established a grid, much like what you have on a road map,
Okay.
in this whole area. And then in the spring, I walked the area and read as many stones as I could. And
So you're writing down everybody's names?
writing down their names and the dates and relationships, putting those all into a database. And from that database, people have put together a website now that is searcher that can be looked at, and so you can look up your ancestors and find out where in the cemetery they are buried.
So I could be in Florida, go to the website, find out where great-great-grandmother's buried. Mm-hmm. And I heard there was something about GPS.
GPS, yes.
So
we also have the Google the GPS locations for each of the lots, so that they can actually get an aerial picture of the cemetery with a pin dropped right where we know the headstone is.
So the future would be,
The future will be that we're hoping to put the other 13 cemeteries that are in the town of Dorset in the same database, so that some people, even over in East Dorset, would appear not on that particular picture, but on a picture of the East Dorset Cemetery.
got it. So after all this work, surprises. What surprises came up?
Well, we had 1,000 names of people who were buried in the old grounds.
How do you know you had 1,000 people?
It was in an old ledger with dates, but no idea of location. And so we mapped out, we walked this old part of the cemetery and found 700 legible headstones.
That's pretty good.
That means leaves 300 people who we have not located. Stones like this,
That is someone's stone.
we're sure of it, but we don't have any idea whose.
Any other surprises?
Well, there has been some fun. One of the Gilberts talked to me and he said, do you know where Mehitable Gilbert is buried? I know she's in the old grounds.
Mehitable.
Mehitable, the
Mehitable.
first Gilbert to move here from Cavendish.
Gotcha.
And I said, well, yeah, that name rings a bell. We were able to look it up on the website and drop a pin over there. And so now he can go find his ancestors' gravesite.
So all these years she's been waiting for him to show up,
And the rest of us.
and the rest of us.
Well, and this is the nice quiet spot that we've been able to find up here.
It is pretty.
Oh yeah, very peaceful.
How many? So how many people?
Well,
How many people?
there's room for 4 caskets,
There's room for
but
4 caskets.
right now it's my wife and myself.
Right. But it could. You've got a pretty big family. Just off the top of your head, how many do you think is up here from your family right now?
Oh, there's probably about 40.
40 people.
Yeah, over
Wow.
here. And
Wow. And are you going to do? Are you going to do a test dig?
no, well, I hadn't thought to.
Well, you're kind of missing 300 people.
Oh, no, we're pretty sure this is one of the lots, you know, and we know the 3 people who were buried in that half.
Okay, so there's no surprise that's going to show
Well,
up,
yeah,
all right?
just roots.
Just roots.
And rocks. I mean,
Hey,
this is Vermont.
There's a lot of roots here. Andy, thanks. Thanks for having us. We really appreciate that. In every story you do, you learn a few things. And in this story, I learned 3 things, which I'll tell you today. You probably already know them, but I'll tell you anyways. The first thing I learned was the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery. I'm not going to tell you what the difference is. You got to go find out for yourself. The second thing I learned was about these old stones that you see in cemeteries. Why the name is so high on the stone. And the reason why the name is so high on the stone was they didn't have lawnmowers. So when this was a field of tall grass, they always put the name up so you could see it above the tall grass. Interesting. The other thing I learned about was the whole funeral embalming of the bodies, preserving them, open casket, that kind of thing. The reason that became popular, or the reason that whole thing was invented, was because of the Civil War. They had so many bodies that they needed to move back through states, especially through hot weather, that they had to find some way to keep these bodies. They didn't have refrigerator trucks, so they had to keep them somehow partially preserved so they could get home to their loved ones. I'll leave you with that. So, thanks, Haas, Jeanette. I'll see you next time.